The many problems confronted by this country with food and farming have been apparent for some time. Last November, we appeared on GB News to discuss these problems, and it's important to understand that nothing has changed since then. Government have done nothing apart from some PR stunts. Nothing has changed.
Do you not have a magic formula that's a win-win for everybody?
I wish I did, but yes, the magic formula, Alistair, is getting back in the single market. That's really what we need. We need to free Britain. We need to free our trade, free our people, and that would make that would help an awful lot. It's not going to be a magical cure overnight. Increasing food production takes some time. Dismantling it is quite quick, but ramping it up takes years. And so we are in a very fragile situation with food. The avian flu is just the straw that broke the camel's back. It's not I think it's a convenient scapegoat for the government. It's not really the problem. The problem is labour shortages, input prices, removing our support, our subsidies. And then we've also got less imports coming in from Europe because of Brexit. So I keep asking the government who's going to feed Britain, because at the moment we are exposed. And when there's food shortages, people don't tend to just sit on their bums and moan about it. We're looking at a lot of problems going forward, and there's a denial at the heart of government that there's going to be a problem. They assume the markets will sort it out. But the other issue is that the government have been negligent about, in my view, is that they failed to help our fertiliser plants stay open. All they wanted was a subsidy of 10 million. They put 100 million into the Brexit festival and a sculpture, and yet they didn't help our fertiliser plants stay open. So now we're having to rely on fertiliser from America, and that's ramping up the costs even more for us. But also there's a world shortage of it. Yeah. So we couldn't be more exposed than we are now. It's like deciding to go out with no clothes on when there's a terrible storm coming and it's going to be freezing cold. That's where we are at the moment. To put our clothes back on, we need to get back in the single market and ideally the customs union, make our trade free again, free up the labour source that we need. And then everybody will be able to have their food back. And that would be nice, because when it runs out, I think people will start to get quite angry.
How concerned are you that this is a government that has such a fixation with the environment and climate change that it puts that first ahead of food production?
Well, again, do you really think they're putting the environment first? I live on the River Thames. It's full of sewage since Brexit. And we're not seeing any real direction on the environment. It's used as a weapon to actually justify ramping down our farming. I lived through the coal mine destruction, and it was Patrick Minford who was the architect of that. And I've always said since Brexit happened, farming is going to be destroyed as the coal industry was. And I was right. I hate to say it, I was right. And that is what's happening. And it's incredibly sad because this countryside, our country, is man-made. It's been farmed since the Neolithic period. My identity, and I'm sure yours and many of your viewers, actually feel identity through the look of Britain. Our lovely fields with hedges. It really is an iconic image. And it's all under threat because of what this Conservative government are doing. And I just hope that we can do something now. There is time, there is a window, but that window is getting tighter and tighter. And we really need to fight for our countryside and for our food security and our food supply. Otherwise we'll just be having imports eventually coming in from America, Brazil. All of that food is very, very bad for your health. And what will happen to our countryside? It'll just turn into a concrete jungle, probably.
Yeah. I have to ask you one final question with your general agricultural hat on, and you may not know the answer, but many people here in the newsroom want to know the answer to the question. We've talked about eggs, we've talked about turkeys, we've talked about poultry generally. How fares it for the Brussels sprout producers?
Well, all farmers have got the same problems. Labour shortages, input costs, everybody. So what do? It's a risk farming is risky anyway. So what do? You think, oh goodness, what am I going to get at the end of the road, and what problems am I going to get? Already they've been having problems with wasting food and products. So everybody's been reducing what they grow and what they produce, which is, so our food security is shrinking while the world is also, in a crisis. So, as I said, it's a very bad situation, and it's an emergency, and it needs urgent action. It needs, a proper, dedicated body of people to come together and make quick decisions to sort this out before it's too late. It's almost the same as COVID. When we went into COVID, our pandemic preparedness had been destroyed. And we were in a very, very bad situation. And we're almost repeating that same mistake with food.
There really is only one solution to our food crisis, and that is to get back in the single market and customs union. And it would be great if people could start interacting with their MPs, demanding that that's what happens. We need to build the pressure to ensure that Britain faces the reality that Brexit has failed. Please subscribe to our channel and comment below.